It's 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. If you're watching on Facebook this morning, camera's over there, Stephen. If you're watching on Facebook this morning, you know that's not Bob Pollock over there. No, but it is Penn State Extension. Stephen Campbell is with us. He's an Indiana County boy working out of Extension in Butler County, but he's got a coverage area that includes a large portion of our area, and so it's great to be able to talk with Extension once again. Stephen, we're going to rotate, right? We're going to have different folks on.
Yeah, we're going to have rotate. I think next week's Angela Boring, who is the 4-H educator here in Indiana County. So, and we've got a couple of different other educators. I know our livestock educator said he would be on, as well as our master watershed steward educator. So there should be plenty and wealth and breadth of Extension coming through here to be able to talk about what Extension does and some of the different things that we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Our visit this morning presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online at marcusandmack.com. So Extension has many different arms. And one of those is agronomy,
Yes.
and you work directly with our farmers in Indiana County.
Yes, I do. So Extension has 5 program units. I would be in the agronomy and natural resources as the field and forage crops educator, or otherwise known as the agronomy educator for the area. I am based out of Butler County, but I live here in Indiana County. I'm a 2017 graduate of Blairsville High School. I went to Penn State and got my bachelor's degree in turfgrass science, and did a couple minors there, and then went out to Purdue University out in West Lafayette, Indiana, and got my master's degree. So we've got a breadth of different things with Extension.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this season of the year and what farmers are doing right now. Every year, I don't know if people are aware of this. I certainly am, because I come from a farming background too. People probably aren't aware of chemical certification, which sounds like, what? That's farming? Yeah, it is.
It is.
And it's a very important part of it.
It is. And so we go around, and there is usually a pesticide update in just about every one of the counties in Pennsylvania. Indiana County hosted a agronomic pesticide update out with Penn's Manor High School, would have been last week. We had a really good turnout for that. And then we also held a crops day at the beginning of February in Blairsville at the Presbyterian Church. So, and that had Penn State professors coming down to talk about some of the research that they have done and advocate for some of the different things that they are doing, and that could be used in a farm program here in Indiana County.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that farmers have such a diverse background that we might think of it as okay, you plow the dirt, you put the seed, you wait for it to grow, and then you harvest it. It is so much more than that. Making the soil, it's really a science lab, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you've got to be a jack of all trades to be a farmer, and they've got to be very well knowledged and have the resources available. And that's why I'm here as well, as to use as a resource when they don't have the answer to a question, to be able to help navigate them through that, whether it's a row crop recommendation, whether that is a pasture recommendation, a chemical recommendation to be able to control a weed of some sort. So lots of different things with my job, as well as just doing one-on-one consults to maybe adjust a practice. Maybe they're doing something right, but maybe we just need to just twist something just a touch, and they may have a better outcome at the end.
Really big issue in recent years has been erosion and chemicals and other farm products leaching into the waters. And certainly Extension has been concerned about that. The U.S. Agriculture Department, Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, they're all on that issue. They want to make sure that the waters remain clean, and the farmers do as well.
Yes, and that's part of the process too. We work with all of our partners to provide some of these educational pieces, whether it's using a no-till field day to be able to try to preserve some of that erosion, or talking about cover crops to be able to utilize those over the winter time so that we don't see that erosion once that crop comes off. There's also the breadth of using some of the conservation district or NRCS resources. So the county farmers have access to those funds to be able, if they can't afford them on their own, that they can use some of those resources to implement some of these best management practices. So we aren't just, leaching chemicals or leaching fertilizer into our water sources.
It's good dirt. Why lose it to the creek, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good dirt is hard to find, and you better preserve it as much as you can.
Yeah, especially, seeing some of these different things happening here with the Homer Center redevelopment project. I know a couple of different farms have sold some land to them. So trying to protect some of those resources, maybe enrolling your farm in farmland preservation. The county has a farmland preservation board that they have some money to be able to put that farm and stay in farming for generations to come. So there's plenty of different programs that we have knowledge about that we can help you and guide you to get to those programs and talk to the right people about.
Part of that is the Century Farm program, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And that way, those lands are preserved for their purpose.
Yes.
Which has been farming for over 100 years, and each of those properties that is designated for that way. You have something coming up with Indiana County Farm Bureau.
Yes, I do. So on April 18th, it's a Saturday, from 11 to 3, we are having a baleage and haylage workshop. So ensiling grass forages to be able to feed to our livestock. So it's not just always about regular dry hay that you would normally think of, or like straw in that sense to use as bedding, but this would be something wrapped or put into a feed bunk to be able to work off and have some wet, moist kind of feed to be able to feed to your livestock. So we'll walk through some economic considerations, some storage, how to be able to actually do some baleage and some baleage tips. So we'll have myself, there'll be another agronomy educator that has the coverage area of Bedford, Somerset, and Westmoreland. She'll be coming up along with one of our livestock educators, and then our forage specialist from the university will also be coming down.
Round bales have really sort of taken over the hay market, haven't they? Because you don't see square bales as much anymore. A lot of it has to do with labor, but it's a really high quality. When you do round baling, that's a high quality hay.
Yes, and I would say it's going to go back to the age-old adage of extension of it depends on what your market is. If you're selling it for the horse market tends to use a lot more square bales. But for a lot of our other livestock species, that those round bales, they tend to dominate that world and are a lot easier to, like you said, with labor and handling wise, you can use an equipment. To get it back and forth. Round
bale hay is like lasagna to a cow.
Yeah, that is a really good analogy. I might have to steal that one, Todd.
It's good stuff, and the cows know it.
Yes.
Yeah. All of those things are what you get into, though, in your daily life. You probably, if you were to go look at your week schedule and see the number of different areas in which you are asked to provide expertise or you are educating others in, it's a pretty wide berth.
It is. And that's, extension, there's never a day that I'm doing the same thing. It's usually, depending on what call we would get or I get or get a referral for that matter. We're trying to do something different each day, whether that's giving those recommendations, dealing with, forage or pasture crops. One of the big things that I think I do in my job as well is a lot of these pasture recommendations for our horse market out here in Western Pennsylvania, along with our equine educator, Olivia Watson. So Indiana County does have an equine educator. She is based out of the Mercer office, but she covers all of Western Pennsylvania. So we do a lot of that, as well as research projects. So the university is, enabled us to give us a little bit of money to be able to come out and test something. So if you have, say, something you want to, experiment with, feel free to drop me a call. I'd be happy to come out. We can try to put something together, or call it over to the Indiana Extension office, and they can get me your contact information, and I'll be in touch.
It's interesting, the number of things and areas in which you can get involved. How big of a scope is it in terms of what you deal with? Are you dealing only with commercial farmers? Are you dealing with the small family farms?
everyone in between. So from the small little family operations that may have one pony in in their backyard that may have a little bit of a pasture field, to some of these big commercial operations that, do several thousand acres. That's one of my bigger producers in Butler County that I work with up in the northern part. He does a lot of acreage. I think he said he had 700 acres, I think, of wheat planted, which is quite a bit. So, especially with some of the wheat things that we've seen here in the last year, it's been very hard to grow wheat because of our climate that we see. So
I would guess that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, that your job is very different here in Pennsylvania with its rolling hills than it would be if you were in a flat land like even next state over in Ohio, which is much flatter than Pennsylvania is.
I would agree with that. There's just so many more challenges when it comes to some of these rolling hills that we see here in Western Pennsylvania, because of being able to get equipment on it. We're probably using smaller types of equipment. We're not getting into some of these bigger, combine fleets that, come through and just take and harvest, when maybe you're ready, maybe you're not, but they're coming through and you got to get it off. But I think that's probably one of the bigger things that I see, working day to day with extension is it's a challenge. And sometimes we don't have the resources to be able to, pull from what we should be doing. I know one of the bigger things here that even I'm dealing with as a farmer in Indiana County is trying to find a lime spreader to be able to lime my fields, to correct pH. I mean, that's one of the basic most practices that we see with farming and, getting a soil test done is trying to correct the pH. So I think that's probably one of the things. I've got a phone call I got to make here that's over into Cambria County to see if I can have someone to come down and spread some lime. So.
Yeah. Used to be a pretty easy thing.
Yeah, it used to be.
15 years ago, you could find plenty of fellows doing that.
Yeah, and it's just the custom operators aren't around anymore. Yeah. It's a challenge.
Yeah, I would guess that goes back to the conversation as well, not in terms of lime, but the hilly terrain.
Yes.
To what we were talking before about erosion and contour farming, how important it must be, much more here than in a flatland area.
Yeah, contour farming and being able to have some of those buffer areas and, kind of laying out your fields. I talked to some people that, they're like, well, I'm like, why do you have your farm set up this way? Well, Grandpa did this way back in the day, and we had these strips set up, and I just kind of like it that way. I like looking at it like that way, and we've kept it that way. And I'm like, that's a fair enough reason. If it works for you, then sure, that's great. And I admire that you're doing that contour farming to try to help out a little bit with some of those erosion problems that we're seeing.
Yeah. If your dirt on top of the hill ends up at the bottom of the hill, then you got two hills.
Yeah. yeah. And it's not fun going up the second hill as much as even going up the first.
He is Stephen Campbell, Penn State Extension. And by golly, if you want to get in touch with Stephen or with anybody with an extension, the local office here is 465-3800. How do they get directly to you?
So they can drop me an email with scampbell@psu.edu. That's probably, I say, one of my better communication methods, but I know a lot of our farmers like to give me a call. So you can also call my office number at 724-602-9967. If I don't answer and you've got a question, please leave me a voicemail. I will get back to you. Just don't drop a call and don't, again, drop off the face of the earth. I'd like to hear what you have to say. So that's one of the big things I'd encourage you to do.
Beautiful. Hey, good first visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back. So we'll try to do that.
Can't wait for that to happen again. Next week, we're with who?
Angela Boring with 4-H.
There you go.
It's 4-H week next week.
Oh, yeah. Big doings. Big doings. All right. It's Indiana in the Morning, WCCS.
Did you